Ever since Billy Joel famously traded in his Steinway Model D piano for Fruity Loop 7 stock piano, the discussion has raged on between what's better, analog, digital. And I am here with world-famous composer, pianist, legendary bro, Cody Cook, to talk a little bit about his experience because he just released a piano EP, and we've got a little bit of analog at a top-class recording studio.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And we've got a little bit of digital.
Signal. Yeah, a little bit digital.
So we're going to get into all of it. We're going to get into some very interesting thoughts on it. But first, I want you to hear the different samples. I'm going to do them unmarked, then we'll let you know if, in case you can't tell which one was which.
Which one was which?
How it goes. Here we go.
All right.
All right, so which one was real? Cody, let us know.
B.
Sample B was the real piano.
Yeah, it's a Kawhi 9-foot grand. I think it was 9 foot.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Mic'd up in a world-class recording facility.
Austin Signal out of Austin, Texas.
What was the mic setup?
I'm going to get this wrong, and the guy to ask is Charlie Kramsky. Personal shout out. There were two ribbon, I think 2 Royers. I think there were 2 tube versions of like pencil condensers, like the Neumanns use, but an older version that were tube driven. And there were 2 other large condenser mics, so everything was in stereo. I wish I knew the name of that, but so it was a huge process getting that mic placement all set up and done accordingly, as well as keeping everything like in phase with one another
by a seasoned professional.
Seasoned professional, which I probably should mention something about because all of this is because of him.
Okay.
And as Grammy nominated Charlie Kramsky.
There we go.
Because he is, he is the man, and he carried this whole thing on his back and did it just out of the goodness of his heart. So.
Which is why I think this is a good video.
Yeah.
Because we've got like the man recording, tracking, mixing a piano track, a solo piano track, and A-Bing it with just kind of, I don't want to say your standard run-of-the-mill digital piano track or MIDI track, because it's actually Native Instruments The Giant, which I think is
It's definitely a flagship software piano.
Yeah.
But the reason why it's such a good comparison is that the grand piano is under essentially ideal circumstances, right? It's in a world-class studio with world-class mics. It itself is a world-class piano, being engineered by a world-class engineer. Now, one would argue that when you actually make a piano sample with Native Instruments or whoever does it, it's under pretty much those exact same circumstances. It's modeling a famous piano in a famous place. And so of course these variables are different, but the principle's the same, where everything's done to the highest degree.
They record a dude playing middle C at however many velocities.
A lot.
And then it triggers whatever it is in the software to do it. But the thing that people argue about is how the notes interact with each other, the overtones which they try to emulate.
Yeah, and even more so than that, so the overtones is a big thing. Because that's something people, I think it gets overlooked a lot, is that depending on what you played before the note you're playing now, those overtones will carry over and it creates like a harmonic effect, right? Now, there are companies who are doing that more and more and really trying to emulate that. And especially little nuances of what make any recording, let alone a piano recording, good. And we were talking about this a little bit earlier when you picked me up, was that there are nuances that make that recording really great. One being the actual flex of the piano. It is just essentially, it's a huge piece of wood with metal.
Sure.
It flexes and there's bench noise and you hear the player You hear his foot hitting the pedal. There's these little nuances that get picked up, and that's what makes it a real, to me, like it's another part that subliminally triggers that emotion in me. That's like, this is an analog recording.
The one thing that's funny to me about software plugins is like the noise of the sustain pedal is of paramount importance to like the software programmers.
Oh, dude, yeah.
Like you can like crank it all the way up, hit that pedal, it's like,
right.
yeah.
Especially like coming off of it, and you hear it like relax from the board itself.
Yeah.
And but I'll be honest, it's important to me.
To me, that was actually, I always thought that was kind of overdone on software plugins, but then hearing the actual thing is like, oh, that's a thing. Okay. That's
totally.
An actual thing.
Especially like when it's really noticeable is when you have a lot of reverb on it. Because when you hit it or depress it, engage it, the reverb catches all that and it's like it really expands it.
The dissipation of it is pretty amazing.
But a lot of people are, saying that their newest piano sample has all these little nuances where it's essentially indistinguishable from real piano. How do you feel? Do you feel like there is a distinguishable difference?
Yes, for sure. The thing that I've always the issue I've always had with tracking not digital pianos, but like software plugins and stuff, is the mid-range always just seems kind of muddy, kind of messy. And as a solo piano track, I think it's fine and you can get away with it. But once you start trying to like blend it into other things, I think it's like a real headache to kind of make it where you want to take the mid-range out, but then it's just like super bright or super deep, and then it's just like a mess. And by the time I'm like I'm trying to mess with it personally, and again, I'm by no means like a master of anything. It's just like I'm generally never satisfied with the results in the context of a busier mix. Now, the track that we played of yours, that's like the actual like legit way to do it. It's almost weird. It's like I perceive it as a lack of mid-range because I'm referencing again what I think of when I think of like recorded piano samples.
Right.
So even though it's backwards, I'm perceiving it as lack of mid-range only because my frame of reference is
right. The overwhelming majority of the pianos you tracked have been in the box.
Exactly.
So that makes sense. Your perception would be that there's that middle pushes more.
Yeah, exactly. So I think the high end is where it really shines on the real deal.
Yes.
The low end, I could be fooled for sure. Again, not like I have the greatest ear in the world, but the thing that the crispness of the high end, I think is where it really shines out, and like the real version.
There's another nuance that we're not really bringing up either, and I feel like as a player, it maybe makes like the biggest difference, is when the actual like playing the instrument physically. Now, there's a million different MIDI controllers that are all going to be triggering this, and I play pretty much on a Nord.
Yeah,
on
it's like the greatest MIDI controller you can have almost,
Right, and it's supposedly the best, bed, the key bed, but it's nothing like a real piano. I don't care what anyone says. Even Roland's Ivory Touch isn't quite there. So there's actually something about physically playing a piano that is so different than even the nicest of keyboards, where that experience does change my sound of how I play a little bit, because my hours on a nice piano like that are so limited in comparison to me playing every day on that Nord, right? So I certainly hear just how I play different, and I know that's super, subjective, but and a
it's
little
hard
anecdote,
to qualify, but
it's there.
And
to
I
me,
think I think to a more broad extent, I think that's the main difference between digital and analog anything.
Yeah.
Like when it comes down to like I've done shootouts on pedals and stuff. Like, oh, do I want to like run this through a carbon copy or something while I'm tracking it, or do I want to just add delay after? It's just delay. I can add delay after. It's like, yeah, it's fine. It'll sound great, but it's like you're not going to play it the same way as you would clean.
Right.
Same thing with the analog summing. I've got like an in the box kind of setup with like an analog summing. I did a video on the analog summing thing, which has gotten like a lot of feedback. It's like, oh, I can't like hear the difference. It's like dollar for dollar, you can't hear the difference, but you feel the difference while you're mixing it when it's going through even just like a small analog summing.
Which changes like the course of your mix.
Yeah, exactly. It just like it changes the course of your playing when you're playing an actual instrument.
Yeah, because like especially in the delay analogy is such a great one, because when you're playing guitar and you just think that in post you're gonna throw on delay, when you're playing it with delay in real time, you're totally anticipating that delay.
Sure.
And that will bring a new part of your playing out. So I think that's a really good comparison.
Which could be a good thing, a bad thing, whatever. You know what I mean? But it does make a difference.
Right. And I kind of go back to how I feel about all these comparisons. It's like at the end of the day, if you have a MIDI controller and you have $100, $150 to spend on a really, really nice piano sample, if that's what gets you playing, then that's what you need. Because like most people, I imagine I don't have access to a nice piano like that to practice on every single day. So it's weird how, I don't know if it's a generational thing, but just the people who are in the box recording, like you, are getting accustomed to the sound of a digital, replication of a real piano more than, the replication of a real piano.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I mean, so now I understand why Billy Joel made that switch. It's like a modern times type thing. You know? Well, anyways, I definitely think you should check out this guy's piano album. Put some more samples of it at the end here. I will link you below because I think it turned out pretty good.
Thank you.
3-song EP.
It's in and out. And I owe even doing that to this guy.
No.
I do, because you have been championing me. For those who don't know, I mean, me and this guy go back almost a decade now.
Way back.
We've been roommates. We've known him
through the highs and the lows.
The highs and lows, my man. And you always said, like, hey, man, at the end of the day, you just need to be putting out piano stuff. And I've been in bands. I've done like some video game soundtracks, which like technically is me, but it's not just a piano.
Yeah, sure.
And you're like, dude, you just need to bang this out because you could do it anytime you wanted to. And I took your advice. I got on the horn with Charlie, and he's like, dude, I'm in a lockout, which means like a studio pays like one guy to be just the guy. So any clients they get, you can be like, oh, I was with Grammy, whatever.
Sure.
And he's like, dude, if you want to do it, we can make this happen. And we did.
So check it out. Leave him some comments and feedback because he's still very sensitive about his art. It's hard to get him. So make it nice. Keep the train rolling. If you have any questions or comments, hit us up in the comment section.